What is up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today we're going to be talking about two different things. We're going to be talking about the PPP program and a new bill that was just passed in the House that adds some flexibility to the PPP program, and we're also going to be talking briefly about stimulus checks and whether or not we should expect to get a second round of stimulus checks, and if we do get them, when will they occur? So let's get started. So let's first talk about the PPP, or the Paycheck Protection Program. And the PPP is one of those plans that is something that sounds good in theory, but whenever you get into the weeds of the plan itself, it can get a little bit tricky because within the PPP, there are a lot of guidelines that you have to follow in order for the loan to be forgivable. For example, a business could apply for the PPP, but whenever they receive funding, they have to spend that funding in 8 weeks. They have to have 75% of that funding go to payroll costs. They have to have the same amount of staff that they had before COVID-19 hit. And it was just a slew of different rules and regulations associated with the bill that made it so that a lot of businesses were going to end up having to pay back this loan that was initially really kind of intended to be forgivable. And this was something that a lot of business owners and a lot of entrepreneurs were really concerned about, and rightfully so. This past week, the House passed a new bill that really adds some flexibility to the PPP program. And so the House passed it this week, and it is expected to pass in both the Senate, and it is expected to be signed by President Donald Trump. In fact, in the House, only one congressperson voted no for the bill. So everybody else voted yes. So it was a huge slam dunk. It's a huge win, and it's going to be going to the Senate and the president's desk within the next couple of weeks. With this new flexibility with the PPP program, there are a few key changes that make a huge difference to the forgiveness of the loan and really kind of the flexibility to business owners and entrepreneurs. The first, and in my opinion, the most significant change with this new program and with the new bill that was just passed is that originally within the PPP program, you had to spend the funds within 8 weeks of receiving the funds. So you had 8 weeks to spend it as it was intended to be spent, and if you didn't do that within the 8-week period, you had to pay it back. And the terms of repayment were a 2-year term, and so you had to pay this loan back in 2 years, which for anybody who knows anything about paying loans back, you know that can be incredibly tough, especially if it's a business that is already going through economic hardships to begin with. And so the initial PPP said 8 weeks, but with this new bill that adds some flexibility, that is being extended out to 24 weeks, meaning that you have 24 weeks to spend the funds as they were meant to be spent. The other big piece of information with this new flexibility in the PPP program is that initially you had to spend 75% of the funds on payroll costs. And if you didn't spend 75% of the funds on payroll, then either a portion of your loan or possibly the entire thing would have to be paid back rather than be forgiven. With these new flexible guidelines, it has decreased that 75% threshold to 60%, meaning that now you only have to spend 60% of the given funds on payroll cost. And the last significant change, in my opinion, with this new flexible bill regarding the PPP is the amount of time you have to hire back your staff members. So with the PPP program, you are given a deadline to where you have to hire on the same amount of people you had pre-COVID. Now, you don't have to hire back the same exact people, but you do have to hire back the same number of people. And with this new bill that was just passed in the House, it adds some flexibility on that. And it's also extended that deadline out to June 30th, which means that now businesses that have a PPP loan have until June 30th to get their staff up to the number that it needs to be. The one big piece of the puzzle that was missing from this bill that passed this week is any talk or any negotiations at all regarding stimulus checks. Now, you guys know that the CARES Act had a $1,200 stimulus check that went out to every eligible American, and ever since that was passed and ever since people started receiving their stimulus money, there has been continuous discussions on what a second round of stimulus checks would look like. And you guys know, and I did a video about this a couple weeks ago, that the HEROES Act had a pretty extensive program built into there regarding a second round of stimulus funding. And that included $1,200 for eligible individuals, $2,400 for eligible families, and $1,200 for eligible dependents. And that is a second round of funding that doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. In fact, I would say, from my personal opinion, that if we end up seeing a second round of funding, it will not be happening until probably July, if not August. And I think that even the question of will we get a second round of funding is still very much up in the air. And I do not think that it is a given that we are going to get a second round of stimulus checks. I think that it is a 50-50 shot at absolute best. So there you guys have it. That is the update for you guys regarding the PPP and stimulus checks as well. Now, this is big news and is a really big benefit for those of you that are independent contractors, sole proprietors, business owners, or just PPP recipients, and you are trying to figure out how to get this loan to be forgiven. And if that is you, then this newest update is a really beneficial update for you. But if you are not a business owner, sole proprietor, or independent contractor, then unfortunately, this past week doesn't mean a whole lot for you. And if you are not one of those people and you are just simply waiting for a second round of stimulus funding, then you still have a while longer to wait. But I want to hear what you guys think. What do you think of this most recent bill that was passed? What are your thoughts on the PPP? Do you think that the Democrats kind of missed an opportunity by not trying to negotiate a stimulus package into this most recent bill? Let me know your thoughts on all of these topics by leaving a comment in the comment section below. And while you're at it, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.